So what's our program called? Now, what I was thinking was, and I don't know where this came from. Well,
yeah. No, I love it. Go ahead. No, this is just me going,
have you ever seen, sorry, have you ever seen Red Dwarf?
Red Dwarf?
It's an obscure, well, it's not so obscure now, but it was an obscure sort of sci-fi British comedy about these people. It's just nonsense, right? But it's very clever. And they have an android, I suppose you'd call him. And when he realizes he made a mistake, he goes, sorry, I should go, right. Okay. So I don't know if it's because so when I was writing my newsletter, I had quick tips and I had quotable. Love the letter Q for some reason. I've also just listened to on Audible IQ 84. I just thought, and I'm supposed to be writing about Kate 2.0, who is like me in my highest self, what I would be like. And I thought, I want to be Kate Q.2.0 or Kate 2.Q.0. I just think that's a little bit more exotic. And I just thought we could call it like 5 questions, and it could be 5Q.0 or just a 5Q, or I don't know.
So personally, I personally have to shy away from the letter Q because of the whole conspiracy theory that is happening and undermining our democracy right now with QAnon. Are you familiar with all this? So there's supposedly there is this guy named Q. He's embedded in the CIA, and he's sending all these texts about how there's this deep state, and it's all the lies and the thing that started, or the thing. It's all aligned with the Trump and Steve Bannon and all this stuff. And so the people that, a lot of them that stormed the Capitol on the 6th of January, one of the guys was dressed as this whole Viking, and they call him the QAnon something. So from a political perspective here in the United States, I feel I have to stay away from the letter Q. Because I don't want anybody thinking that we're part of that. Okay, what?
I'm really surprised at you.
Me? Why?
Why do you listen to all this shit?
Why do I listen to all this shit?
Yeah.
Well, I don't listen to that shit. I'm just aware of it.
I mean, any of it. Why do you? I know it's easy for me to sound a million miles away, but like, I don't, I know it. It's just like rule 101 of law of attraction is to just not give it any of your energy ever.
Well, maybe I'm still evolving. I am very much, I've always been intrigued by current affairs and foreign affairs, even more foreign affairs. And because of where I lived my dorm was the international dorm at Michigan State. And so I was surrounded by people from the Middle East, like Tunisia and Saudi Arabia and even Singapore. My boyfriend at college was from Fiji. All these European people from Belgium.
And I think that's amazing, Julie, because there are so many, no generalizations, and I hope you're not recording this, but there are a lot of people all over the world who don't know anything about other cultures. So I think that's especially in your part of the world, because you've got a very big population from which to choose without having to step outside your front door.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I understand.
So it's been an interest of mine. Plus, I speak foreign languages. Plus, I've lived overseas. So for me, it's me being a global citizen, and it's something I've always been interested in. And to understand I love understanding different cultures and why they think the way they think, but at the same time, how it's very similar to how everybody else thinks. So for me, I like understanding all of that, because then when I have somebody come at me with a point of view like a QAnon, I like to have the facts, so I can have if they'll have a conversation. That's the first hurdle. And if they won't, then they won't. But if they will, then we can have a fact-informed conversation, because I find all of it intriguing. Now, I will tell you that since starting all this work, I don't subscribe to The Economist anymore. That was my favorite magazine. I take my amount of news absorption has diminished. I watch the headlines and I meant to turn that off. I watch the headlines and 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 2 blogs. That's it. But I am still, but because of the type of news that I watch, I'm still familiar with the
we're going to do another interview.
Okay.
Because I think there are 2 things about law of attraction. I'm not saying I've mastered them, right? But there are 2 things that people, even people who like yourself, are so, in my opinion, much further evolved than me. There are 2 sticking points that just get people's backs up, and this is one of them. You know, about you can't ignore reality and all that. I can't think, what's the other one? There might be another spin on the same thing, so we'll have to do an interview on that, because it's something I don't understand, that people who I consider to be infinitely more evolved than me cannot, just either don't get that or don't want to step away from that.
Yeah, no, yes, I can see how. I know of people in our circle that don't want to step away from it, and get, like, on the day of the, what we call the insurrection now, that my texts were just blowing up, and I'm like, it's okay, like, that's what they're doing, justice will be served. I'm not gonna, you know. Or what else is happening right now? Oh, Orange Man made an appearance somewhere the other night, and so, you know, it's like, let's just see how much the news media decides to cover it. But I'm not, it's like, okay, well, knock yourself out, take a picture next to the gold statue. You people who say Catholics are bad and we worship idols, okay, whatever you want to do, it's fine with me.
I'm sorry I brought this up, Julie.
No, this is a good topic.
It's to inflame you.
No, I'm not in.
Let's get the real Julie out.
No, I'm. How do I say? We have friends that are. This is all good. We can use this somehow. I have friends, my husband and I, that are Republican, and in a way that they have a little girl, and when Barack Obama was president, their little girl came up to us and said, "This family does not trust Barack Obama." And I'm like, where in the hell you're like 5. Where do you get that? And
I wonder.
Yeah, I know. And we would like these people as human beings. However, it's interesting for me in particular, going through all of this process, to see, and this is me judging now, right? Where I begin to judge their attachment to materialism, consumerism, wealth, and all the things, all what I consider the negative things of that part of the political spectrum. Guns, calling bullets freedom pellets. How is a bullet a freedom pellet? It kills somebody. Do you think
what side you're on, Julie?
I know. I mean, you can tell. Yes, absolutely. I love taking that step back and kind of looking at it all and going, I just don't, there's something bigger at play here. And I wish others.
There's a brilliant rant, I'll have to find it for you, brilliant rant that Abraham does about this, she just starts off about and it must be quite dated, because I think it's actually talking about the Iraqi war, the Afghanistan, you know, and it's going, and she's talking from the perspective of somebody, me for example. She's going, it's because I'm not quite sure what they're doing over there, and it sounds like they're doing the right thing, but it doesn't sound like they're quite doing the right thing. I'm not absolutely sure that what they're doing is right, but I do understand that we can't be doing this, and I don't like the killing of people, but I don't really, you know, and then there's that person saying this about it, and I'm not really sure how they add up together, but I do understand, you know, that we can't just ignore these things, but then there's these other, and she just goes on and on and on, and she just goes, how are you ever, how can you ever make sense of it? It's so complex. You've never got all the information. And she's just like, and that's the point, is that you as an individual can never have any impact on any of these things other than who you are inside. But it's just a really good example. It's really, really funny, you know, picking out all these bits about, you know, somebody trying desperately to do the right thing, and you can't, because you can't cover all the bases.
No. So I'm glad you said that, because as we get ready to move back to the lower 48 and the Midwest in particular, we'll be in proximity to be able to visit these friends again. And he, particularly the guy in this,
publishing this video, are you?
Maybe, yeah, we'll see. I'm open to it. It will be interesting. Well, like, he would follow me anyway. it will be interesting to see. He likes to poke at me. And I feel like with what we've gone through in these last couple of years that I have some tools to stay in my light, if you will, in my power, and not, I don't have to engage. I don't have to school him. It's not up to me.
So you're actually lining up a test.
I guess I am. I don't really want to, because I really don't want to.
That's brilliant. You know, you can just fucking laugh about it. I'm married to a Tory. You knew that, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How much funnier can you get? Do you know what? If I'd met Gary at 18, I'd have stabbed his eyes out with a pickaxe. Before I shot on his car, probably, and set fire to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, concerned you're all pretty right-wing, aren't you, compared to British?
Us left, actually. You mean most of us within?
Your Democrats still sort of right of centre or centre of right or something compared to us.
Oh, really? Yeah. We get, people here don't like that word.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I'm not being law of attraction about it. I actually don't understand. But
it's so okay. So along this theme, to me, what's also been intriguing as the rise of fake news and misinformation and Facebook's part in it and all of it, right? What's interesting to me is many human beings' lack of desire to get to the truth. So there, and I've actually said this to my dad, who's voted for Trump. I've actually said this for years, particularly.
People did, Julie.
What? A lot of people. Oh, I know.
A lot of people did.
Yeah, but over 7 million more voted the other way. But anyway, what I have noticed since probably college days is particularly in the American culture, is the amount of apathy that our culture has. We say we are free and we're proud democracy and all of these things, but yet we don't bother me to learn what's going on, to be active, to actually go vote, like the things that actually fuel the democracy and the democratic process to move forward. People don't want to participate because they don't want to be bothered, which is where I think that's how fake news actually sprung up, because it's easier.
And yet, the law of attraction says that what they're doing is right and what you're doing is creating drama. So
that's with
us being us, I suppose, and I don't know what you'd call them, middle class intellectuals. I don't know. I don't really understand the class system either. But you know, intellectual people would have you believe that if you don't, you know, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, which is really what you're saying. But that's just another viewpoint, isn't it? If law of attraction says that with your meddling and pushing against and criticizing and digging away at the truth, you're actually exacerbating the problem, then who's right? It's not about right and wrong, but you know, you see, and that's what I mean about that's the sticking point for law of attraction for a lot of people. They just go, but, and it's like but don't get me wrong, Julie, I've been there, and maybe we had this conversation at book club, didn't we?
Yeah.
Been there. I was really anti-nuclear, very much involved in stuff when I came back to Britain. Really disappointed when I went to university as a grown up, because I went back at 21 or something. No, wasn't that much older, but mature student, because I thought, yay, I'm going to get back in with like, way radicals and that. Nothing. Scientific, Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, or I don't know if it's Scotland in general, not a peep out of anyone about anything. Nobody gave a toss about anything. I was really, really disappointed. You know, I was a real activist, and I was really looking forward to doing that again. Nothing. So is that just general apathy? So I completely get where you're coming from.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think for me, it's more of like, I'm not going to change it. I realize now at 53, I am not going to change somebody's mind. I still like to be informed. So if I can be informed, and if somebody comes to me and asks a question, I have some information. But I'm not going, I just find the whole thing. Oh, and the other thing is, So there's the whole apathy thing, but then there's this whole aspect of our culture, potentially all of Western culture, where we have overwhelmed ourselves. And I'm totally in this. I'm actually trying to figure this out for myself right now, because I've realized I've overwhelmed myself again. We overwhelm ourselves to the point where we don't have the energy to do anything more than just get through the day, get enough money to pay the bills, but oh, we've bought more stuff, so we have more bills. Like there's just, for me, I feel like I'm just more watching, because it's just fascinating to me how
what would you want to do?
What do I want to do?
What are you not doing that you think you should be doing?
About that? Nothing.
When you say that I'm overwhelmed, so all I do is basically, what would you do if you had the time? What would you be doing?
I would be writing. I want to write more, and so I'm trying to figure out a way to lessen my schedule.
Because you want to educate people?
No, because I just want to put my story down for me. If somebody wants to read it, that's great.
Okay, so you're not talking about political activists.
No. I'm just talking about like in general. Like I just find it interesting that in a culture that is, for example, in a culture that promotes pro-life, we don't have women's health care in place. We don't have daycare in place. We are expecting two incomes per household so that people can survive and put food on the table. And yet we do nothing to make sure that the children have a baseline education in this. I find are those paradoxes? Are those contradictions? Whatever those are, I never know the right word.
I think it's a paradox, isn't it? That on the one hand, family values, blah, 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 blah. On the other hand, let's make it so difficult that it's impossible for people to do that comfortably.
Right. So I find it all interesting. And the more I work with all of our group and all the studies that we've had, and this, you peel back the onion, if you will, and it's the message is just so simple to just approach, to be love and approach things from a point of love and love your neighbor, all of those simple things. I just find like all this other stuff just piles on top of it and you can't hear that anymore. So to me, I'm just like watching this going, isn't that interesting? Oh, I love them. I love them regardless of where they voted, regardless of what they believe, because they were somebody's mother and all that stuff. What's this?
Did you read this today? I posted it in my Facebook because I've been watching Danielle's thing. Did you see this about Matt Kahn's book?
I just started chapter 2.
What if I respect the divinity of others, whether or not they acknowledge it in me? What if I dare to honor my own divinity instead of waiting for others to see my life? What if I don't have to respect the unconscious actions of others in order to honor their soul? What if any moment of disrespect is an opportunity to stop and respect myself at a deeper level?
Word. You could tell I'm a child of the 80s. Yes, word. Absolutely. And that's, I feel like I'm more of a observer right now in that regard. So I'm just kind of watching like, isn't it interesting? That's all. So
it is. I think, I find it really hard to come to terms with the how can you see evil or whatever, but we think of it as evil, don't we? How can we see injustice and not be a part of it? That took me a lot to step away from, particularly with animals, less so about people. With animals, but it was a really hard lesson. But actually that's when it makes sense to step away, because what I don't know can't torture me.
Right. Yeah, and that stepping away has felt freeing.
Yes, I mean, and having somebody, Abraham Hicks, law of attraction, whatever, tell me that I don't have to take the sins of the world on my shoulders, to have that written down for me is just wonderful for me. It's a lifesaver. I can be consumed with horror. I mean, I think from the days that I started praying, I prayed for every single animal in the world to be safe. You know, it's a huge burden.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's suffocating because
You
it's
can't,
not your role on the planet. Not.
You're so powerless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was I listening to? Oh, I was listening to Lee Harris's energy update for this is March of 2021, and he was saying that this notion of of course, knowing that every human being is the divine having a human experience. Every human being has a role to play on the planet at this time. And so it's not my role to go out and change everybody's mind or to, make sure all the animals are safe. It's my role to do what I can do to be the divine having a human experience, whatever that may be. And I'm still trying to figure out what all that means for me, Julie, here in this moment. So, yeah. But I saw that Abraham Hicks video where she pulls the guy with the hat on, and he has all these questions about how can you talk about all this love and good in the world when we had the Holocaust, we had all these things and how we have to fix them. And then, so she went into that, it's not your role. Everybody has a role. That's not yours. And because you're taking that on, you have all that suffering.
Yeah.
It made
so
much sense
also,
to me.
I mean, it is a cultural thing, but I feel also that was part of my, what's the word? One of my workarounds as a child. I always, sort of drummed into me, whether deliberately, but the net result was if I wasn't part of a solution, I was the problem, and I was actively participating in a problem. And I still even now get really, really anxious when I see that something could be done and I'm not doing it. I still, that's still a really big thing for me to step away from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I'm embracing it as much as possible. It's not my role. Anywho.
Yes.
You see, we should do TV, Julie, you and me.
I agree. I don't disagree. We need more conversations like this anyway. Maybe that's our role.
Maybe that's our role.
Mm-hmm.
Not to convince anybody, but one that, I mean, I would say that majority of the world would have to see it either your way or my way.
Yeah, but then I mean, however they want to see it is how they want to see it. I just had this little thought that by the two of us sharing our experiences with whichever all this is about, we may help other people or may create a broader conversation or something like that. I'm learning. I'm not here to convince anybody anything. I'm just like amazed. I'm just in complete awe as to what's been happening and how I would love to share that with people if they want to hear it. If not, I'm just going to write it down because I can't believe it. Like, I mean, I can believe it, but just like, holy buckets, look at what's happening to me.
See, now I want to know what that is, but because I'm naturally very curious about stuff like that, but that way lies madness for me.
Oh, to write it all down, you mean? Or to...
No, to read, like, every now and then I think, because there's a lot of, I've had just one friend, not that I just have one friend, but one friend who's been sending me the sort of the statistics about COVID and stuff like that. And there's a lot going on. I don't think there's necessarily a conspiracy, and if there is, I'm not really sure to what end, but I do believe there's a lot of mismanagement in the sense of, but with compassion, people don't know what they're doing and they've had to pick a side, and so I get all that, and I don't, but some of it to me seems such nonsense, but I appreciate that it's been done under pressure and in a panic and all that. But he'd been sending all this stuff. He stopped now because WhatsApp privacy rules have changed, and so he's moved to some obscure thing. And again, I would love to argue the toss about all privacy and that, but I haven't got time, and so I just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a bit of me that would just I'm going like, why isn't anybody asking any questions? Why, when I Google what's happened in Sweden, you see, it doesn't take much for me to get worked up.
Right.
We'll just calm it down then, because we were going to do something else today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we won't call it Q.
No. Unfortunately. No,
Let's call it 20 questions divided by 4 or something. I don't know.
Okay.
What's
When
another word
sheep's
for
cough.
questions?
I say
Oh,
we should call
yeah,
it.
why, or just why do sheep cough? Yeah, okay. Right, you're going fast.
I'm asking you questions first. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I don't know
So,
what we're calling it.
we can't call it Q because of some political blah, 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 blah thing that you said.
Well, I just don't want a bunch of QAnon followers. Well, I shouldn't judge. Their path is their path. I am not.
You nearly choked on that.
I do.
Okay, so let's start. This I don't know why this came to mind. There's a couple of that's not very flattering for us. As like one of these quaint Rosemary and Thyme, I think they're called. They're like lady detective. There's a lot of stuff on what we call ITV, which is Channel 3, which is not the BBC basically. I don't know where all these ideas come from because I wasn't in Britain growing up, so I didn't really understand any of this, but you know, I understand that ITV is not BBC, and I don't think it really nowadays makes any difference, but it's Gary will always say you're watching STV, which is a Scottish independent television, and it's all these sort of middle class, middle age lady detective stories and stuff, which actually I really enjoy. So I was thinking, and I was thinking, and then was it 2 fat ladies or something, a couple of cooks? But that's not very flattering either, is it?
No.
We could call it 2 woo-woo ladies.
2 woo-woo ladies.
Looney Tunes.
2 woo-woo for you. I don't know.
Yeah, hang on.
We could incorporate U2, my favorite band now.
Yeah, really fascinating. Again, I don't know much about them, but you will hear a lot of that. Right? I did not know that. We could call it that. Frank Skinner. This is a comedy thing I listened to a lot, and it was when YouTube gave everybody something on their iPod or something, and he went absolutely crazy, mental ape shit about it, because he actually ended up deleting his entire music library because he couldn't get rid of it. He was so annoyed that someone had the audacity to put it on his.
I know. Oh, that day. I remember that day because I watched it live when they were on. They did an Apple Talk and they watched it, and so the band was on, and I am just freaking out because I love them so much. Like I don't know if you can tell, but all these books, and over there's whole piles of books of them I have read. And
well, let's call ourselves U2, and we can do all sorts of, because that could be U2 as in you as well, or U2. How would you do
that's
that?
borrowed interest. I'm not certain about. I have this, so in advertising we have this thing we call, I know, sorry, everything's gonna have a thing.
Borrowed interest.
Yeah. Because
I'm
taking some.
And U2. U2 woo woo.
I don't know. Chickens and dogs? I'm going on a completely different path.
Why chickens and dogs?
Because you have chickens and I have dogs. A dog.
Or moose. And what am I scared of?
Chickens
Moose and mothers.
Moose and mothers.
Mothers,
Mama moose.
Mothers, moose, and monsters.
Yeah.
What's your monster?
Yes. What's your? I was going to say, what's your M? And the only M I can come up with is mudra, which my guides have been sharing mudras with me of late. You know, when you see Buddha, you see him holding his hand a certain way. Each different hand way or hand position that he does is a mudra, and each mudra has a meaning.
Mind your mudra.
That's nice.
Doesn't mean anything though, does it?
No, but that's okay. I don't know. Think about. I don't know.
Mood monsters.
I don't know.
Mudra, as in mood-ra. Too subtle.
Yeah.
Right, let's start, because if we sit on this, we'll never get anywhere.
No.
And it's something but we agree that if something pops into your head during the conversation, you just come out with it, right?
Yep.
Because we're not trying to impress anyone here on.
No.
And I actually think spontaneous stuff is usually the most.
Yeah.
I mean, the only stuff I listen to on the radio is Frank Skinner, and it's just 3 people chatting, and they're just really funny. And like whenever the men start, there's one lady, I love her, Emily Dean, and I don't even know what she does really, but the other, that both comedians, and when they start chatting about football or Star Wars, and she goes, "Oh God, you're just like 2 old men in a pub now." It's just really, yeah, it's a very niche humor there.
That's right. That's how we started talking about you two, and that how everybody. I just remember sitting there that day, and everybody was all pissed off that they were getting free music. Okay, so you didn't ask for it. It's still free. It's a gift.
It's the sort of thing that would drive me crazy, because I would be like Frank Skinner. If I would try and get it off, and then when I couldn't, the technical challenge of it would drive me crazy, regardless of whether I even wanted it or not. And I would end up probably stamping on my iPod. I get really enraged by technology. I have today, Julie, wow, man, I've been on fire. I've found a bug in my WordPress, and I can't work it out. It's just not, the word revisions aren't working on like 3 pages. And naturally on the most complicated pages, so I've had to literally recreate them rather than battle with support, because I'm just not getting anywhere. They keep telling me to change my theme and all. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that, because it's just like fob you off with something really difficult to do, and then you'll come back. And every time I go back to Bluehost support, they're like, "Oh, we've closed this case because I didn't respond within 20 minutes," and I'm getting just really irritated by it. Yeah, I should have. Anyway, there. Anyway, but I've been on fire. I've done loads today, technically. So I'm I find that really rewarding, because when I was learning about archetypes again today, that's my hero. I have a big hero archetype. I didn't know that.
Oh, you do?
Just because I like. Is that hero? Yeah, doing stuff because I want some. But okay, there's nobody to get it. But I feel a reward myself that I've achieved something.
Yeah, like you get a reward and you stand there with your cape on, your hands on your hips. Bullets just fly off of you. You don't, nothing. Yeah, nothing stops you.
See WordPress? I gotcha. Yeah. Anywho, right. Okay, so we shall. Have you introduced us? Have we started? Is this it?
No, we're going to start now.